chain that I'm rocking. I got the ring full of blink, never dropping. I got a stash for the cash that I owe to my brother. All up in the cup, just to live it up. Look how the streets turn cold when I walk it. It's my rules, no man can stop it. I throw a kick so quick that I leave her in the gutter. Leave her in the gutter, 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 gutter.
Hello and welcome to game number 1 in what I believe is a best of 2 potential team versus Modo Gaming. This is the Amateur Dota 2 League. I do not know exactly which division of the 3 that it is, of Contender or Heroic. I know it's not Heroic, but we're already well underway into the draft. The potential immediately picking up Sand King, a hero that is, I think, very well rounded. Another flexible pick. It doesn't really show your hand when you pick a Sand King. It's not like, okay, they picked Sand King, they're going to do this kind of strategy, or their lanes are going to run this way. It's largely, it's very ambiguous. You can run it as a core, a support. I really enjoy those kinds of first picks, and I think a lot of people lean very heavily into those kinds of picks so that they have a lot more flexibility to adapt to the opposing game plan as the draft develops. And Modo first picking an Elder Titan, a strong setup stun, and can be an incredibly obnoxious laner if he gets a lot of stacked on his Astral Spirit. The Aura, also a fantastic ability, both mid and late game, amplifying the damage of your teammates significantly, reducing base armor and magic resistance to 0. Modo then going to pick up a Kunkka, so already something of a wombo combo coming together for Modo Gaming. Potential, we'll see how they want to respond to this. What their rebuttal is going forward. Again, very flexible. I think Modo have kind of showed what they want to do. They may move away from it, but are kind of team fighting. And potential also going to be a lot of AoE on both sides. Both teams going to be ready to brawl. Strong laners, I think, across the board. Lesh's lightning nerf does hurt him a little bit, but still good at trading. Great in team fights, of course, and scales incredibly well late game.
Remaining.
Modo, I wonder if they're going to run this Kunkka support or core. It used to be that I was strictly in favor of the support Kunkka, but I wouldn't mind seeing a core Kunkka, depending on the game. If that hero gets, I don't like just rushing in for like a Shadow Blade Daedalus, but drums, armlet, then you can go the Shadow Blade Blink and stuff. Those sort of items, while not massively increasing the hero's damage output, make him incredibly durable and really quite difficult to deal with. Potential banning out Invoker, and Modo taking some time. They don't really know, really for all 4 of these picks, whether 1 or 2 of them is a support. You don't know if potential are running both support Lesh and support Sand King. A bit greedy, but doable. Or which one of those heroes is going to be core? Maybe one of them is going to support and the other isn't.
Radiant team.
Modo, the Elder Titan, almost definitely a support. That hero, ages ago you would see it as a core, but I just don't think we see Elder Titan as a core anymore. Tinker then banned by potential, targeting those mid laners. While Modo removed Slark. They don't have a ton of tools to deal with that hero this game, just with their first 2 picks. But again, I think I like the ban. Lots of setups for his pounce. That hero can really just wreak havoc on teams that have non-instantaneous control.
5 seconds remaining.
Modo taking their time. They still have a fair bit of reserve time, as does potential, to really think out what they want.
Dire team pick.
They do eliminate the Juggernaut. Now going for their pick. They're starting in the second phase. And again, a lot of options. It's really, I think this is a core Kunkka. I don't think it's going to be running support. I think Elder Titan Kunkka as a duo would be very, very greedy. You could run Elder Titan as the 5. I just don't think it's likely.
Team pick.
And Modo grabbing their offlaner, the Bat Rider, a great tempo-setting hero, and potential have no real counters to the lasso just yet, besides stunning that bat before he gets away, with a teammate in tow. Potential. It's just so hard for me to really pin down what exactly it is that they
10
want.
seconds remaining. 5
Like,
seconds
they have this
remaining.
great AoE. Both these heroes can be run as an offlane and a mid. I think mid Lesh is, if it's against Kunkka, it's not the worst
Dire
matchup for
team
Kunkka
pick.
in the world. And then potential grabbing a Warlock, even more team fight wombo combo. The Fatal Bonds, I'm not even thinking about the Golem as much as the Bonds. The Bonds with a Leshrac and an Epicenter, that is insane amounts of damage split between your team. It'll destroy squishy heroes. People like the Bat Rider will practically just die. It's with the rum buff from the
10
Kunkka.
seconds remaining.
Maybe they can survive a team fight with bonds attached to their heroes.
5
But even if
seconds
just 2 or 3 heroes have bonds with any other unit around them, they could take some serious damage, especially if one hero has the rum buff and the others do not.
Radiant team pick.
Modo respond, picking up a life stealer. My apologies. Lifestealer, this game, great against Lesh, great against Sand King, even quite good against the Warlock. That hero can't really run away from him. The only BKB piercing stun they currently have is the Warlock, a largely magical damage team. As such, I think this Lifestealer is a
seconds
great
remaining.
pickup for them. They have an awesome vessel in the form of the Bat Rider too. Once he gets a blink,
5
they can
seconds
engage
remaining.
pretty brutally. And if this Lifestealer gets off to a really good start, I think it could be incredibly difficult for potential to really control him, to stop that Lifestealer from just running around and wreaking havoc, especially if he chose to go for something like a BKB, which isn't common on Lifestealer, but I don't think it's unheard of either. I think in some games, especially if there are huge amounts of magic damage, and we'll see a potential continue to double down on that, you could, it's like, speaking of doubling down, you could do that with the magic immunity on the Lifestealer as well. Going for a BKB to give you a massive, at the first pop, 16 seconds of magic immunity, and at the bottom of that, you get about 11 seconds of magic immunity, which is basically a full duration BKB with Rage, like the entire game. And then I imagine he'd go for the Rage talent late game, but we'll see if it even lasts that long. I think both teams
Dire team
come online
ban.
very, very early, especially. Interesting. A good hero against Lifestealer, assuming you don't get bashed. If Lifestealer does get a bash, you don't get locked down. Slippery can be very, very hard to catch. The stuns on Modo, not the most reliable. You have Boat, you have Torrent X, Stomp,
10
and
seconds
Lasso, but
remaining.
all of those abilities except for the Lasso and X can be
5
dodged.
seconds remaining. Radiant team ban.
And Modo banned Sniper as the final ban of theirs. While potential, the more, I'm pretty sure this is a core Kunkka. But we shall see. They've been banning out mids even after the Kunkka pickup, so it might still be a support. And potential also going to be looking for their mid.
10 seconds remaining.
Actually, that may not be true. Leshrac
5
could be
seconds
going
remaining.
mid for them. And I believe Weaver is going to be safe lane. Don't usually see that off lane anymore. The hero is just so fragile in the early stages that I think it's a bit too much of a risk to run it in a solo lane. Unless it's like a really good matchup for him. I don't know, like maybe Darkseer or something, a hero that really can't kill the Weaver. Potential digging in a bit to their reserve time now with just 30 seconds remaining. You've got to come up with that next pick. If it's an offlane Sand King and a support Lesh, they're looking for mid, and if you flip that, they're looking for offlane. They've taken out the Bloodseeker, so I wonder if they're going to go Pangolier. But no, they go for that Medusa instead. They don't want to get division detected on their heroes, and potential team, I think the weakest link in their draft is the Weaver. I really don't love the hero. I'm not 100% where they're running it. So the support duo is probably Leshrac, Warlock, offlane Sand King, mid Medusa,
10
safe
seconds
lane
remaining.
Weaver, Modo. Again, they could be doing a mid Kunkka. If
5
not, they're going to be
seconds
looking for their own mid hero as well. The Bloodseeker removal. I'm not super sure why they banned it unless someone on Modo plays the hero a lot. But I think potential, as their name suggests, have the potential for a pretty nasty teamfight combo. I worry that their lanes might not be strong enough, at least the Weaver lane. I think Batrider is a hard target, but I've been proven wrong before. I think the Wombo combo from potential just will probably deter any serious teamfight from Modo, but with a Batrider, a Lifestealer, Kunkka, Elder Titan, they have plenty of pick-off potential. It'll just depend on which team gets to enact their game plan more regularly. If Modo are going to be allowed to run around the map, securing pick-offs, or potential are going to survive the laning stage and do well enough in the laning stage that they can deathball early and just take objectives against their practically unstoppable teamfight with the Fatal Bonds, plus all of that AoE that they have. Modo going to rely heavily on disengages from the Elder Titan, and who knows what their other hero will bring to the table. It could completely change the way that the game is played. 30 seconds remaining. We don't have too much time. And Modo, I think I feel like they're looking for a support. But mid Kunkka against Medusa could be very, very difficult. Soon, Modo will be out of time. I'm trying to think what they could really use. Another pick-off kind of hero, like, if they're looking for another support, well, they go for the OD instead. Some mana burn, some massive nukes, late game scaling. I think if it goes ultra late, it's actually really quite hard to say who's going to win this game. Medusa is a very strong ultra late game carry, but I think the supports, that's not true. Both sides, you've got a Kunkka on one and a Lesh on the other. Both of those heroes as supports scale exceptionally well into cores as the game develops, but I really like this OD pick for defensive banishing. You can banish, like, let's say theoretically Medusa gets really fat but doesn't have a Linken's. You can banish her and kill her team, so she's not contributing any damage. Or you can do that to, like, the Lesh. Actually, that's kind of risky because I think his spells continue to tick through the banish. But I think as a mid, OD does really well for them. I think it handles Medusa pretty well with the int steal, reducing the effectiveness of her mana shield, and his ult can demolish anyone's mana pool. So game number 1, and what I believe is a best of 2, getting underway right now. And on the side of potential government, on the Medusa, Lesh played by Allison, Weaver by Fiery Man, Data Nerd playing the Warlock, and last but not least, 204 on Sand King. Again, my apologies. Modo's Prodigal Son playing the Elder Titan. I wonder how much of a prodigy he will prove to be. Voodoo gonna work his magic on the Batrider. Griffy playing Lifestealer, and Simple playing the Outworld Devourer, whilst Danny goes ahead and plays the Kunkka. So both support duos, actually not true. For some reason I thought this was a core lock for a quarter of a second. The support duo of Dire is very greedy.
30 seconds.
I think Modo want levels on their Kunkka. They want levels on their Elder Titan. But it depends on how well their lanes go. I think if Modo win the lanes, it will be really, really hard for potential to really come back and to really get their footing in the game. The Lifestealer with the the pickoffs that they have the potential for could really make comebacks getting very, very difficult if they get ahead. While if potential get really far ahead, Modo may be unable to find those pickoffs in the first place. Both teams going even on their bounty runes. No one trying to get frisky, no one getting aggressive or energetic with an invade. The Batrider's lane, this is a really good lane for the Batrider. They have, unless he mispositions, they do not have very much kill potential. They can't really catch him. They can't really chase him against the Firefly. And if that Warlock could just die, immobile heroes just melts underneath sticky napalm and firefly stacks. Again, I apologize for the hiccups that I'm sure are going to happen in this cast. It's been about a month since I started my job, and it has left very little time to get casting, so I hope you guys will bear with me. But game 1, 3 stacks already onto Data Nerd, throwing out the Shadow Word to kind of poke this guy, but that's really all they can do in the lane. There's nothing that impressive. Top, Danny, I don't think there's any real kill potential just yet for almost anyone unless there's some serious misplays. The Medusa OD lane should be fairly even. If Medusa can get really high damage bounces, then she might be able to bully him away from the lane. But as it stands, I think it's mostly even. Both heroes just going to right-click each other pretty heavily. But it's going to be really hard to deny this Bat Rider, but he's getting low now. I don't think they have the damage to kill him. Only level 2 on this Weaver. However, definitely making the smart choice, Fiery Man, and I wonder if Data Nerd has done the same thing, both picking up magic sticks, suddenly making it a lot harder for Bat Rider to secure his own kills. Up top, it is a dual lane versus a dual lane. Lesh and Sand King is really interesting. However, Prodigal might want to be careful. Burrow Strike, the Split Earth, does connect as well. He's getting really low. He's trying to get that stomp, but the Lightning Bolt strikes him down. In their tri-lane, only level 1 on that Elder Titan, preventing him from throwing out a ranged Spirit to get a distant sleep. One thing I would like to note is that a lot of teams have really moved away from doing tri-lanes. We used to see this all the time. The teams would do tri-lanes, you would destroy the enemy solo offlaner. The offlane got nerfed consecutively many times, so we just really stopped seeing people solo it, or at least hard solo it. You would have a support sitting there a lot nowadays, kind of like we have in this offlane. You've got the Leshrac with the Sand King, but I think the big reason of that is you're getting more out of the map XP wise when you do this. Now that bounty runes do not give XP, it really encourages people to run dual lanes or very effective tri lanes, and I just don't think that Modo have an effective tri lane. Kunkka should survive. The torrent flies forward, and he is going to be able to walk that right off. Just a flesh wound for Danny Boy, and then bot lane. This, I think, is the biggest concern for potential. The Bat Rider will be so hard to zone. I really don't think they can even do it. He may not be able to kill them thanks to their magic wands and their sticks, but they can't really zone this hero. He is going to get a lot of levels. Mid remains even. Government just a little bit behind in both last hits and denies. And Medusa comes online late, but I don't think as late as people say, and I think the same goes for OD. Both heroes just need 1 or 2 items to really get going, like Dragon Lances, Maelstroms, Force Staffs, you know, those kinds of things, drums, and they can do some respectable damage, but I think OD does better with less than Medusa, so if he gets ahead of her, I really worry, especially if they don't get any stacks going, and Kunkka has showed up at the bot, and Data Nerd, well, all signs point to him dying down here, but Danny himself very low. The fire taking. Danny trying to get the courier, unable to do so. The Warlock dies, and Fiery Man needs to be careful. It might get a little too hot even for him. And he just scoochies on away as they snag a kill on Voodoo, with that Bat Rider getting the kill on the Warlock. The Sand King also TPing bot, leaving this Lesh solo, but he's been able to bully these guys away really effectively. Much to, I must admit, my surprise. A DD rune sitting up at the top lane now. That's the DD, a friend of mine refers to as the double deny rune, but in situations like this one for a hero like OD, it could just be a kill if you pick up that DD rune. But Simple going to remain very low on mana thanks to those Mystic Snake bounces, which will prevent Arcane Orb harass. And yeah, it seems Modo have adjusted, moving to do dual lanes themselves now, trying to secure more XP, I think, for the heroes. Otherwise, you could just leave Voodoo. Danny, both teams, 3 bounty runes, it appears, will be going for the Radiant potential. A slight advantage beginning to build for them with those rune pickups. That DD remains untouched, but I think Medusa slithers her way over to go ahead and pick it up, but those small advantages are going to mean the world for potential. They have a very good late game, but their draft a lot of their heroes want some kind of item, some kind of farm. Even Warlock, as a 5, would love to be able to pick up his Ags at some point, or at the very least boots. It's Sand King wants, you know, Blink. He might want a Force Staff at Yule's. And with those bounty runes helping secure them some gold, then they can come online a little bit sooner, or at least stay even with Modo's mostly early and mid-game focused draft, which, again, it could just make all the difference to not lose 1 or 2 fights thanks to 1 more item or so. Griffey getting low. He does have Rage, but 204. I don't know if they see him right here. Allison could go for a stun, curling a lightning bolt. Griffey, oh, not enough range on that Burrow Strike. It's a pretty short range spell. In fact, yeah, 450 range. Very hard to find that stun for 204. Do nothing more than scare Griffey a little bit. He popped Rage anyway. Actually, I think he popped Rage after the Burrow Strike, but it didn't connect, so I could say it doesn't matter. However, Rage does have a cooldown. It was up right then, though. The death summary for this Lifestealer just chain stuns, and it's over for him. He's very, very squishy, so has to be really careful for those chain stuns. It's not even really squishy, but the damage of these heroes is quite high, so he at that point he was really low HP, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Weaver now solo laning. Voodoo falling behind in XP just barely. And Fireman, the only thing he has to worry about is a flaming lasso without any kind of gap close. It's really hard to get caught in that. And now Voodoo starting to do what Batrider does best. One of the best jungling heroes in the game. Can flash farm very, very fast. If his team begins to stack, I believe that was a stack made by the Radiant, then he could find a blink incredibly quickly. Or even if he stacks himself, we see some Batriders come up into this region and they'll stack these 2 camps right here. So they can get drums or force staff or something very, very fast. Voodoo. Watch yourself. Medusa, speaking of stacks, going to try to get some set up here. I think that should do the trick, but no, the most obnoxious creep in the world, the Prowler. Speaking of prowling, Leshrac and Sand King on the prowl for this Lifestealer was just miserable, and then it bought instantly a deep dive, and he has his ult too, so they really can't catch it. They can't punish him unless they go to sleep into a lasso. There's really nothing that they can do. Warlock should probably heal this Medusa here. Mid Shrine popped up at the top just for the Sand King. Looks like Leshrac Allison feeling very, very comfortable. Going to have phase week soon. Does have 2 clarities on the way as well. And I'm just beginning to worry a bit for Modo. I think their draft is stronger mid-game, but if Potential can get ahead on late-game oriented heroes like Leshrac, like Medusa, then the game could become incredibly difficult for them, especially if the Lifestealer has a rough start. He is level 5, almost 6, has the 2nd most last hits, so even though he's died a couple times, it's not the end of the world. I think Griffey is performing fairly well, but preferably would not die anymore. Ping out onto Danny. He gets the Burrow Strike, trying to set up for the Split Earth. That hits 2. Lightning Bolt and the Pulse Nova. Danny pops to Allison. Just so much damage so quickly. A good attempt from him, but he died in no time at all. And with the Lesh getting more and more ahead, just becomes more and more difficult to deal with. Has a Void Stone, which is just an incredibly helpful item. Probably going to build that into Yule's, get the stun set up, and of course the mana regen is fantastic. There's a Sand King sitting mid, simple, oof. Definitely not a snake he wants to eat. Let's see where these bounty runes go to already, going to the Radiant, who have now secured a 1k gold lead. About 1,500 gold lead, and XP roughly the same X, but with less cheer. They want to try to follow this up. Critical Sun getting so low. Split Earth, Burrow Strike. He's donezo. Sand King, Invis. I think they have Dust. I'm surprised Danny hasn't used it. He pops it now. They need to be careful about that second Burrow Strike coming in just 1 second. 2 Heroes stun. Oh, the Pulse Nova 2 and the Epicenter all on top of it. Just, buried alive by that Sand King. Beautifully done by 204, and perhaps a bit slow on the trigger for that Dust from Modo. 3k gold now, but we still see 2 of their heroes at the top of the farm, but net worth much more indicative of things. Leshrac sitting on top, and then Medusa, Lesh a full 1,000 gold ahead of the OD at just 11 minutes. A 3k gold lead now built for the Radiant. Potential off to an excellent start, 9-1. Modo struggling to really get to their rhythm. Voodoo doing quite well down here. He's closing in on that Blink Dagger. Once he gets that, we'll see a lot more pickoffs happening, I think, for Modo, and that's, I think, when Modo can really start to get things going. Good sleep, but do they have any kind of follow-up? 204 positioned really, really well. And Allison just throwing out those right clicks. The bot tier 1 also dying, and Voodoo forced to run away with that Firefly. Pops his... He salved. Okay. Gonna say that would be a very unfortunate salve if it were Batrider, but it was the Weaver. Throw it down that salve, healing himself up. Lifestealer closing in on the armlet, just 200 gold away. A great item to help keep him alive after the fact. We'll probably see something like Saint Indyasha. We could see Desolator, some like Radiance, but I think the way this game is going, you would want to go the mid-gamey items. Oh, good rage just in time to avoid that Split Earth. And that spell also does a ton of damage. Split Earth, 200. Yeah, this hero just hurts. Oh, they found him. Got the X and the lasso too. Oh no, they broke the lasso with the X! Very unfortunate miscommunication coming out from both teams. Burrow Strike is up, but I don't know if they want to try to use it. Split Earth does catch on too. Will they dare turn around? They have the Epi, and no, 204 doesn't want to push his luck. A beautiful Split Earth coming out from Allison, and just so unfortunate. A strange interaction that perhaps they didn't know about. Voodoo's first lasso of the game, worth nothing, and Danny paying for his sins. As he goes down to Allison. That kill would have propelled him much closer to his Blink Dagger, but he still has about 600 gold to go. Mid-tier 1 now falling for them. Warlock is here. He has his ult. Doesn't even want to drop the Golem just for this Lifestealer. He's rather tanky, the Lifestealer, as he does have the Armlet now. Only 1 point in the Diabolic Edict, so tower pushing not super fast, especially if there's any creeps around. But I don't know if they can hold this. They need to send more heroes. Yules, Split Earth, Burrow Strike. He has Rage, but can he get it off in time? Just in time. The Golem dropped, stunning him anyway. The Pulse Nova taking out now. Diabolic Edict coming into Allison, getting extremely low. Maybe diving a bit too deep, underestimating. Griffy turns onto the Sand King, but the Burrow Strike, he's getting so low. He needs to armlet top of the rum. Not going to save him either. Sleep putting down Sand King and the Warlock. A bedtime story in that book of his. OD here too. He's going to die in this Golem. Just food. But Danny might be dead too. A good banish. And a nice tower deny. Modo. A flash of inspiration for them, picking up a couple very valuable kills and denying a tower. A total of 1,400 gold their way, and the tower dying, well, that contributes nothing for Team Potential. Leshrac still so high on the net worth, but a nice glimmer of hope for Modo. Very well executed from them, and this Lifestealer, a hero that just needs that 1 or 2 items to really get going. And Voodoo closing in on perhaps the most essential item in the game for Modo, the most core piece to their way back into this game plan. A dagger, more like a key, the Blink Dagger, just 200 gold away, but will they be able to utilize it to its full potential to really come back into the game? Griffy looking okay so far. He's still so far behind this Medusa 2k and the Lesh, but I think Lifestealer does really well against Leshrac, as we saw in that last fight. He had the Rage going, and Just 8. 8 Allison alive. But the Medusa, much more difficult. She's now cleaned up a stack there. Her Yasha will be completed soon. And that ult, the Stone Gaze, crippling not just the Lifestealer, but a lot of his teammates. And now, speaking of getting crippled, OD is done for. Burrow Strike, Lightning, Pulse Nova. That's a lot of hate for him, and a nice, easy pick for team potential. I think the biggest concern, oh, they smoked right under wards. They should know that this is happening. How are Modo going to respond? I think they should just go to the other side of the map, leave it be, and not lose any more of their heroes. Just use the space that they know that they have for the time being to get Griffey caught up, to maybe get some levels, but oh, they're spotted. There's no Blink Dagger. So they can't really get a catch. There's no Blink on the Sand King yet. He is going for Yules. No 4-step either. Prodigal Sun needs to be very careful. Walking into the danger zone. Voodoo spotted by the Sand King. But does he dare go in that deep when his team can't follow up? It does not seem so. Fortification forced out Allison, trying to zone them. He's got a lightning bolt. Oh, Kunkka too. He's isolated from his teammates, and I don't think he's going to survive this one. Split Earth, Burrow Strike, Lightning Bolt, and a Storm. He won't survive. Prodigal Sun getting extremely low. The Fatal Bond's doing so much damage. It's just simple by himself. Now he's got the ult, but he doesn't do enough damage. He hasn't stolen enough, and he dies too. 4 dead. Griffey supposedly celebrating the space that's been created, but with a tier 2 down and a Leshrac poking your tier 3, that is quite worrisome. Haven't even really talked about Fiery Man on this Weaver. The Lincoln's closing it. Well, my apologies. He'll have Lincoln's fairly soon now, and then a Desolator also queued up. We'll see which he decides to go for first. I imagine the Lincoln's. He's got it saved. Danny trying to stun Government. Actually gets the Weaver. Can they spot him? The time lapse just in time. Prevents all that damage. Sleep coming in too. He's going in deep. The lasso onto the Warlock. But is that the target that they need to drag him back in there? Splitter splits him down. Can they get anything else too? Griffey's here, but they see him inside thanks to the Weaver bugs. And I think Government able to just TP out safe and sound. A love tap from Griffey. And all they lose is that Warlock. But they get a tier 3 tower and nuke down these racks to about half. The melee will regenerate, but the ranged do not. 9k gold now at just 18 minutes. Almost 10k for team potential, or potential team, I should say. And it's 7,500 XP in their favor. Again, Modo, when you get behind, they still can come back. They have decent... I think they need to get maybe better vision to do so, and perhaps even more importantly, get rid of the opposing vision. With a hero like Batrider, especially when he has a blink, you really want to remove the other team's vision so you can get the element of surprise. You want to make sure that you see them and they don't see you, so you can get the jump, get the lasso. Otherwise, you could get counter-engaged before you even really know what's going on. An Invis Rune from 204, allowing him to scout very, very deep, but playing carefully. Oh, he's going to pop a smoke. They have dust. He needs to pop it. But they just think everyone's gone. 204 hitting the jackpot. He plays the sentry. I don't think they saw him. They might have just caught the tail end of him. They have dust. But no, they can't find anybody. Unable to catch anyone with that smoke. So unfortunate. Griffey, though, continuing to free farm. This is the one thing they have going for them that's really good. He's got his Yasha. But still 2k gold behind. I think Lifestealer, a hero that does a lot with less. Of course, does more with more. But with a pick-off against the Warlock or the Sand King, I think is probably the most important hero. If they can kill one of those two heroes, eliminate the teamfight stuns, eliminate some of that AoE damage, eliminate the Fatal Bonds, they may be able to take a teamfight 4v5 with a pick-off, or if they get a great sleep. And speaking of, a lasso coming in, grabbing Lesh. That's another really good target. Allison getting extremely low. Can they finish him off? They've got the sand in these clips, but it's not enough. OD getting low. The rock drop 2. Allison dodging the boat. He will get crashed into. Simple taking a lot of damage. The Ear Splitter bandaging himself, protecting him from the epicenter. Griffey coming in now. A great fight so far from Modo, getting an excellent pickoff, and now 204. A beautiful burrow, but all it does is buy some time. And he gets... Oh, that Eclipse was questionable, but they kill 3 enemy heroes. However, Weaver, after grander objectives, going for this rack, so they've got no fortification, and he should be able to get it, trying to put him to sleep, and he is. I don't think without a lasso that they can kill him at all. They see him there, but what else is he going to do? Another good glimmer of hope for Team Modo. They don't kill the highest net worth hero in the game, that Medusa, nor do they get the Weaver, but they get 2 supports, lose none of their own heroes, and manage to kill that Leshrac. Unfortunately, they lose the range track at the bot lane, but you have to make some sacrifices if you want to really come back. Hopefully he gets that last hit on the golem. Yep, a nice 100 gold for Griffey. We'll have his SNY very, very soon. Perhaps not as farmed as he wants to be, but I think he is doing as well as you could hope with how rough his start was. Aether Lens finished on the Kunkka now. I believe I saw someone else pick up an item. Was it Weaver? Yes, his Lincoln's finished. So going to dodge those lassos and the X's. I think the best spell to break it with is Open Wounds. They really want to make sure they get those X's. No Golem for 70 seconds. Earth Splitter up in 6. Epicenter also on cooldown. Both teams, I think Modo, if they can take 2 more fights like that, they'll be pretty much even. But that's rough. I am not sure that they can, as these heroes get more and more items, especially as Lesh is queued up the Aeon Disc, an item that, as others have said, I'm sure we're all going to hope it gets removed from the game after TI. That item allows you to just do so much. It gives, who even cares about the stats, right? Who even cares about the status resistance? That active effect is against a hero like Batrider. It's a get out of jail free card. Suddenly, you get lassoed, there's 5 heroes there, and you live. And it's absolutely insane to me. Just a monstrously powerful item, and Weaver, with his Lincoln's done, going to build into a Desolator and start hitting so hard. Did go for that mana break talent like any sane individual would. Speaking of talents, let's take a peek at Allison here with the 5 armor. Sand King for health. I think I would have preferred movement speed, but if there's an argument to be made either way. Warlock, meanwhile, going for the cast range, allowing to position a bit more defensively before fights get started. Well, Medusa has opted for damage and Mystic Snake Mana Steal. Intriguing. I wonder if she assumes she'll be able to use that mana just as a way to tank up, or just doesn't value the attack speed because she's getting so much agility, but I find that rather interesting. The hero, I think the Mana Steal was always very strong and didn't necessarily need help, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a game changer, especially against like OD's Mana Burn. I think I understand the reasoning, but I think I would still have preferred the attack speed, just help her snowball a little bit faster. But when you're at almost 12k net worth at 22 minutes, I don't know how much help you need snowballing. However, OD, a nice kill for himself mid. They smoked up immediately. Can they catch this Weaver? He's got a Lincoln's, an incredibly hard hero to kill. They need to break it with a anything but the lasso. And I don't think they're going to find anybody here. Very unfortunate for them. Their smokes for Modo have not gone well. Even so, they've done well in a couple of team fights, but the way the net worth is looking, hard to say if they're still going to be able to come back. They're beginning, their heroes are just so far behind all of their counterparts.
2 lasts on this brigand team.
The OD about 4k net worth behind the Medusa. Lifestealer 3k net worth behind the Medusa, and Batrider, who I think pretty much has everything that he could hope for besides that Force Staff. Also very far behind. But again, this hero doesn't need a ton of items, although you would love to get like a 4-staff scythe. Mule, so they're trying to set up for that stun. They do catch it, but I don't think he's going to follow up another one. Channeling the Epicenter, he first straps himself away in 204. The Epicenter, ambitious, and I admire his gusto, but questionable. Though the Aeon Disc on the Lesh, a hero that now they can't really engage on. And it just begs the question, who do you engage on if you're Modo? Who do you go after? This Weaver has a Lincoln's. You need to break it and get the lasso at the exact same time, or he'll probably get out. The Leshrac has an A on disc, and if the Medusa's mana shield is up, she is a brick wall. So now it just comes down to, okay, we kill the Warlock or we kill the Sand King. Probably you want to kill the Warlock because of Golem, and Fatal Bonds is a disgusting spell. But even still, a 13k net worth lead now built up for a potential team. And XP stabilizing around 7.5, 8k for potential team. I begin to worry for Modo as the game goes later. It's hard to keep up with like a Weaver, a Leshrac, and a Medusa, and games have been won on the back of a Fatal Bonds Golem combo. Games with heroes not as good late game as your Medusa, as your... Oh, the lasso nicely done. Incredibly fast to break that. However, he's still very, very slow. Gets stunned. The Warlock Rocks hits several heroes. The Fatal Bond's bouncing. It's onto all of these guys. But can they catch anybody? This perhaps is their weakness. Without that Sand King there, do they have any catch? Neither team getting much out of that. But disaster, I think, averted for Team Modo as they had Fatal Bonds on almost all of their heroes. No one dying. Allison, he does have the Aeon Disc. It pops now, and he's on the run. And yeah, that's an item in Dota 2. I suspect he would have lived anyway, but I still think that item is just gnarly.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
OD trying to farm up a Golem. Gets a nice little stipend. Oh, speaking of talents that I haven't looked at, Modo, after that last tussle, where I don't think anyone died, Kunk up picking at damage OD with the attack speed and the move speed. Voodoo on spell amp, I quite like that, but I think the armor, you could have made a case for the armor this game. While attack speed and move speed picked for Griffey. Oh, and Elder Titan, of course, going for move speed himself. They want to get somebody. They see Data Nerd. He pops that ward, but... Oh, no. Another one. They tried desperately to bounce him up, but just missed timing that again. He will burn to death, but I think a bit of expenditure that they didn't necessarily need. A bit of a lack of communication, perhaps, between these teammates. Danny and Voodoo appear to struggle kind of with the X. I get it, especially because Kunkka wants to do the X combo. So it can be quite difficult to coordinate that and make sure that the X doesn't that the X does not break the lasso. Pink's coming out. They know where Fireman is, and Griffey. God, this guy is so fast. Oh my goodness. He's Speed Racer. But even so, will he be able to keep up? And worse, will it even matter? Oh, a good banish on Allison. The Aeon Disc is off cooldown, put to sleep. The sleep is not purged off, and now getting knocked up by that Torrent too. Nicely done. A beautiful execution of that Leshrac. That's so interesting. You can't purge off the Elder Titan sleep. That seems like an ability you'd be able to purge. And it seems they're going to try to get even more. He's channeling that Sandstorm and burning up anyway. They pop the dust, and Griffey getting that last hit. Modo doing exactly the kind of thing that they need to with their heroes. They have such great setup for pickoffs, such great setup for individual kills. It's team fights where they're going to struggle, but currently they're playing the way that they need to, and if they can just play this way for another like 10-12 minutes, which I know is so long, but OD drops the hammer on Data Nerd. Maybe not even 10-12 minutes. They can get like, if they can do these kinds of pickoffs for like 5 more minutes and maybe get a Roshan off the back of those pickoffs, then I think they can come back. They've already dragged the gold back about 2k, really I guess 1k. No, almost 3k actually. I appear to be bad at math, but anyone could have told you that. Medusa gonna go secure these bounty runes. government after his Eye of Scotty. That item makes her very, very powerful. But speaking of making her powerful, 700 mana talent now picked up for this Dusa. That is terrifying. She has 1600 mana. Each point of mana absorbs 2.5. Someone who's good at math, tell me what, you know, that is. Yeah, that's actually messing with my head thinking about that. OD, though, also hitting level 20, picking up his 20 strength talent. So much, much tankier for him. Griffey only level 17, but the OD with the BKB could be really hard for the Leshrac and the Sand King specifically to deal with. And now we see Leshrac has fallen behind OD and Lifestealer. They've got their Infest too. Simple with a Blink and a Hurricane Pike. Do they see Data Nerd? Do they want to get this easy pick? He's got a Hurricane Pike jumping forward and just auto-attacking. They pop out. Can they get him? The Golem dropped. Perhaps a little preemptively. Can his teammates show up to follow up? They've got a BKB on this OD. Data Nerd will die. BKB popped after that splitter. The Aeon Disc also going to trigger. And now Simple trying to retreat as the Warlock buyback forced out, but without a hammer to drop, without a rock to drop, I should say. What can he do? The Earth Splitter running down the mid. Fireman going to dodge it and just hunting down Prodigal. The Lincolns, oh, he doesn't get that force stop off in time, and now Voodoo, his lasso, broken for nothing. The run buff keeping them very, very tanky. Weaver getting solo, not even with that ult off sinking, getting his done. On it to Heroes, Epicenter channel, Grippy with the rage going, but it's going to wear off any second now. Danny, getting away, he's so tanky thanks to that rum, and OD able to banish himself to escape, but Grippy, his life lost, none stolen for him that time. They get the Weaver and force a buyback. However, they're so low, they won't really be able to defend. Look at these guys, they're limping back to their fountain. And Medusa, full HP. Still a 1,400 gold swing in favor of Modo. And this shrine, though, a victim, a casualty of war. And oh! OD looks like he found a couple of kills. Gets the poor Warlock who did buyback in the Banish. Finding another one. Their Shrine going to survive as a result. And Simple starting to get very, very strong. He is the second highest net worth hero. And just running away that Medusa. He is on the prowl, this guy. There's a TP and he will be able to escape. They are keeping their eyes open on that bot Rax. But man, this OD might be their meal ticket. Just look at this guy. He's just terrifying. He's got that BKB. He's hunting for a Cypher's device. Voodoo farming quite nicely. Did pick up his health talent. Though when Firefly is down, really hard to actually farm anything with this hero. Simple probably wants to save for buyback, as tempting as it might be to just buy out your items. This Medusa still gigantic. Her Eye of Scotty now picked up. Can sell the Ring of Aquila, can sell the Mask of Madness, and can get rid of the SNY too. She's a lot of room to grow still. Aeon just triggered once again for this Leshrac. No hammer drop this time for Simple, otherwise he may have found himself a kill or two. Weaver changing course. Fireman wants to get a BKB instead of going for that Desolator. Definitely a good call, I think. BKB helps immensely against the OD damage. The Arcane Orbs do not pierce spell immunity despite being pure damage. For trying to farm the jungle, really wants. I think they really need a Blink Dagger on the Sand King so they can actually engage on people. We saw earlier he kind of struggled to get a kill. Like when that Warlock got a really good setup in the mid earlier, they didn't have anything to do with it. Like they couldn't follow up on it. Sorry, that I realize now that didn't make any sense. They got a beautiful Fatal Bonds, a beautiful Golem, but Sand King was top, and even had he been in the mid lane without a Blink Dagger, could he have made it to really catch up? He's outside of the Golem, he's really their only catch, unless Weaver just runs in and gets a Diffusal off. Oh, there's a lasso on a Medusa. This is a hard target. Can they kill her? Dropping the Golem now. stunning 2 heroes. The Fatal Bond's coming in, but Simple turning it into another weaker hero. Government getting extremely low. Griffey, his rage on cooldown, BKB popped by Allison. A stun onto Danny. They're focusing this Conquer, but is that the hero that they want? A beautiful Burrow Strike. 1 and 2 following the Eclipse coming out, but it's not doing any damage, and Simple 2, he'll die as well. 3 heroes for just this Warlock, and now Voodoo going to lose his life too, I think. I don't know if he can escape this guy. He's got a Force Staff, but will it matter? He needs to just not get touched for 1 more second. He couldn't get the blink off in time. Voodoo. No matter what kind of voodoo, ooh, I was gonna say no matter what kind of voodoo you do, you don't get out of that one, but pulled a bit of a magic trick and will slink back to base. And the other Titan in him will have a doozy of a time protecting objectives, though instead of going for Shrine, they are going for high ground. Good, I was worried they were going to tunnel Shrines, which is questionable. Sleep. Swarm to try to keep Blinks on cooldown. Oh, very unfortunate for Allison that their Aeon just gets popped. Now the melee Rex getting chipped down. Kunkka is back. They have Lasso in 7 seconds. But Leshrac picking up his Pulse Nova damage talent. That's 230 damage per tick. They don't manage to get any racks as the response to deter them, but they will manage to pick up the Shrine. A nice small gold boost, and 18k now for potential team, and Medusa just huge on the net worth. 21,000 net worth on this Medusa, and if she gets an Aegis in her pocket, I just don't know if they can kill her. She is just gigantic at this point. They had a really good engage on her, but they just couldn't bring her down.
I can't believe what we're seeing! What just happened? Normally.
Really nicely done so far from potential. Modo have had these glimmers of hope, but they need to contest here, and now I think the Roche getting extremely low. They throw out a Swarm to scout. Griffey, they ought to know that this is coming. Oh, a nice X that time onto the Sand King. Are they going to be able to get him? He yields himself. The Stone Gate's coming in. They don't have a Lock Rock, not for 20 seconds to vote. Stuns 2 heroes. Lasso onto the Sand King. BKB popped from Simple. The Danny getting so low. Weaver just tearing him to shreds. Life's they're forced to hide, and now Simple getting ripped up by this Medusa. He gets the banish off onto himself, but will he be able to blink away? He needs to time it perfectly and not able to do so. Standing on top with the Shikuchi Fiery Man brings down this OD. He does have buyback, but they don't have their Kunkka coming. Weren't able to get any pickoffs. 20k net worth behind. Modo going to struggle to defend. 3v5 unless the buyback comes in from the OD. This is at least 2 lanes of racks. And top racks could easily become exposed. The Lock Rock drops. Griffey needs to get out of here. He's just trying to fight. He gets the Warlock, but it's not going to matter. The stun won't stun him. But it won't matter in the end. Griffey dies to the Medusa. He may be forced to buy back as well. Their bot racks getting low. The Diabolic Edict taking it down as well as help from that Golem. And Modo might be too far gone at this point. This tier 3 getting so low. They haven't bought back any heroes yet. And they need to do it soon. They need to get some kind of engage, trying to get the stomp. He does put the Weaver to sleep. They dust him. They see him. They break his Lasso. They break his Lincolns. No Lasso coming out just yet. It's on cooldown for another 12 seconds. Simple coming in. A stun onto this OD. They have an Aegis onto the Medusa. Do they want to continue fighting? They're going right for Mega Creeps. They don't care about heroes. They just want to get objectives and potential with the Mega Creeps. I just don't think Modo can defend against this for too long. They have very poor wave clear on their heroes unless they're very far ahead. It seems that Modo have thrown in the towel in game number 1. Potential team are going to advance 1-0 in this best of 2, and we'll see if Modo are going to be able to tie it up in game number 2, which we'll have for you guys here in just a moment. I really appreciate you guys sticking around for this cast, even though I'm sure it's been a bit rough around the edges, and I hope game 2 will be better, just like I'm sure Modo hopes game 2 goes a lot better. Congratulations to the potential team taking the first game of 2, and we will see who comes out on top, or if Modo can even things up in this series. We'll be right back with game number 2, a potential team versus Modo.